Well, with Star Fox being remade again, let's talk about my thoughts on the Star Fox remake. Is it a better game? A worse game? And does it destroy your childhood? Well, the answer to those is it depends on what area we're talking about. Let's dive in and answer those questions. And I do want to warn you that I will be doing some plot spoilers for those who haven't played this 30-year-old action game that's been on Switch Online for several years now. Star Fox 2026 retells the same story that's been going on since Star Fox 1993. Basically, General Pepper's BFF, Dr. Andros, got carried away with his experiments and almost destroyed all life in the Lilat system. Wanting to spare his best friend, General Pepper decided to give him a timeout on the planet Venom. A few years later, Pepper noticed some unusual activity coming from Venom, so he sent out the mercenary squad known as Star Fox out to investigate. This turned out to be a trap as one of the Star Fox members, Pigma, betrayed the rest of the team. Star Fox leader James McCloud is killed off, and their last surviving member, Peppy, returned home to tell General Pepper that Andros was building an army to take over the Lilat system, and then took over the responsibility of looking after James's son, Fox. Skip ahead a few years later, and I guess Pepper did nothing with the intel because Andros is now moving his forces towards the last planet he doesn't control, Corneria. Pepper recruits the new Star Fox team led by James's son Fox to stop the invasion and end the threat of Dr. Andros once and for all. It's a simple enough setup. Again, it was used in the original game, fly the Venom and take out Dr. Andros. Star Fox 64 would add more to it. How you did in the stage determined what your next stage would be, and the route in the game narrative would change based on that. Save Falco from being shot down and live up to his challenge, then you get another boss and you can go to Sector Y. And the remake expands on the narrative by stopping the attack carrier. Star Fox finds out information that the Cornerian fleet is about to be ambushed by a bunch of Gundams, and Fox heads out to save them. Overall, the new scenes both in the cockpit and outside it really do add more to the story, and this is what I wanted to see. The characters now have more depth, and so do their relationship. We see Peppy misses his friend James and wants Fox to grow up to be just like his dad, something Fox both appreciates and resents because Peppy can lay out on a bit too thick sometimes. I also love the dynamic between Falco and Slippy, as it's pretty evident early on with the new dialogue the two love to get on each other's nerves.
Thanks for nothing.
That's why you shouldn't rush a systems check.
But at the same time, the one who worries most when Slippy gets shot down over Titania turns out to be Falco. I like these character dynamics, and the story turns out to be better for it. As for the voice acting, I'll get to that here. It's for the most part pretty good, but I wouldn't say it's better than the original. Here's the thing. Voice acting in video games 30 years ago was pretty bad most of the time, as I do believe game companies oftentimes just grabbed their janitor and told them to read a few lines off the script. Star Fox 64 actually felt like it had some effort and energy, something the new script and actors do lack at times, and it does show up painfully. No more than in the Macbeth train scenario.
Step on the gas. Step. Good going, Fox. No! Hit the brake! I can't stop it!
Great shooting, Fox! No, wait! Hit the brakes! I can't stop it!
Yeah, you can see the old one, he's scared and realizing he's about to die and probably cost his side the war, so he's absolutely panicking in the way he reads the line. In the remake, he says the line a bit too calmly. Yeah, I get it, he's a military officer, so he would be trained not to panic, But he still screwed the pooch when he told him to step on the gas, and now he can't stop it, so a little more emotion would have been better. On top of that, they don't show the track moving, it just makes it seem lazier. With that said, I will give them some slack. Falco's line afterwards almost makes up for it.
That was our best explosion yet.
But with the extended scenes and some of the most dramatic takes, I think the actors for the most part do an okay job, and this version does come out on par with the original. With that said, there is another scene I do want to criticize for not being as good because the game tries to be more cinematic, and I do want to warn you of plot spoilers for an almost 30-year-old game. If you get to Andros through the hard route, taking you through Area 6, you will defeat Andros in his true form, and Andros will blow up, promising to take Fox with him. In the new game, this is followed up by a cutscene where we see James show up out of nowhere and guide Fox to safety, and I do like the new music and the dreamlike aesthetic as James guides Fox to safety and then disappears. But the original, despite being simpler, is just 100 times more effective. We hear Andros make his threat and then blow up, and Fox scream.
If I go down, I'm taking you with me. Ah!
And then the screen just pauses and flashes to white. I remember the first time playing through this, I was like, did I screw up? Did I not do something I was supposed to during the boss fight? Is this another bad ending? Or did Nintendo really just kill off Fox? And yes, I am freeze framing this here, but it still felt like an eternity the first time playing this on my N64. So yeah, I was both taking a breath of relief as well as gasping in shock when James comes on the radio telling us not to give up.
Don't ever give up, my son.
The new way of doing things is definitely more cinematic, and it's a good cinematic scene, don't get me wrong, but the original one does this a lot better when it comes to the player's emotion of panic, because you just thought you game overed yourself. I should also mention and give them prompts that they do make the bad ending the bad ending. The 3DS remake cut it out completely, and the N64 one just kind of shows Andros laughing at the end. But in this one, if you go through a route that goes through the Bose satellite, you're going to get this ending. Anyways, let's get on with the gameplay. Well, when it comes to the gameplay, if you played Star Fox 64, then you should know that it's for the most part the same. There are a few tweaks here and there to some of the boss fights and some of the scenarios that tighten things up a bit, but for the most part, it controls and plays like Star Fox 64. In fact, if you use the N64 controller, it controls exactly like the N64 version. For those who haven't played it, it's an on-rails shooter, with most stages taking place in the R-Wing, but you do have 2 stages with a tank and 1 in a submarine, and the submarine controls a lot like the R-Wing, only it shoots out torpedoes instead of charge shots. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Basically, you fly through the stages and get to the bosses to clear the stages. Along the way, your teammates will get in trouble and you'll have to do something to save them, as they each do something that is helpful. Slippy gives you the boss shield. Falco helps you complete challenges that will unlock harder stages and different routes. And Peppy guilt trips you about your father, and occasionally gives you tips on how to get past the area. Failure to save them will cause them to be shot down, and if you're playing on normal difficulty, they will be gone for 2 stages before they can fix their ship and come back. Anyways, get to the boss and beat them and you'll move on to the next stage. But Star Fox 64 did something special. How you did in this stage and doing special objectives will get you to another stage. Already mentioned the first stage, but in another stage you have to take out the aliens from Independence Day before they destroy the base. Success will let you move on to the solar area. Failure will send you to Sector X. And the missions and the cutscenes change too. It makes the game special and makes you want to play through multiple times in order to see everything. Throw in the medals for getting high score and the unlockable expert mode where Fox inherits James' shades, but he must have spent his money on those shades and not on making sure his R wings were made out of good material, because if anything so slightly touches your wings, they break off. Good luck trying to stay powered up and maneuver when only one hit for your wing will damage it, so you're going to be flying wingless most of the time. Still, it's a fun game, and I can play this over and over again regardless of what version, and it's probably my favorite rail shooter game I own, and unlike my second favorite on-rail shooters, I can play this in front of friends and family. Next to the main game, they did throw in some extra challenge modes that do have some interesting challenges and some extra lore dumps, if you manage to beat them, and an online mode that is fun, but a bit bare. There are only 3 maps, but all 3 of those maps are fun, and I enjoyed the bonus challenges and just the way it's set up. I do hope they add more to this mode as time continues. I should also mention they now have mouse controls. This is a bit of a gimmick, but it's a fun gimmick. It kind of reminds me of playing the old Wing Commander games on the computer. Except they don't get a keyboard, and Nintendo's way of getting around that is a little bit weird, but it's worth playing through once, and I can see myself doing it again. It's a different way and a fun way of experiencing something I'm very familiar with. And I should note, for those of you who are new and are hearing that it's only an hour-long game, yeah, I said this before when talking about Star Fox 64. It is truly the last old-school game to be released. You see, kids, back when I was a kid, and yes, I do know I sound like a teenager, but trust me, my first video games were on an Apple IIe, but games were short, oftentimes only half an hour, and game overs sent you back to the title screen. Games got longer in the 16-bit era, and by the time Star Fox 64 came out, to not have a game that has save slots and 10 plus hours was uncommon. This was the last game to say, yeah, we're only going to be an hour long, and game over is going to send you back to the title screen, and turning the game off in the middle means you start over. It had the balls to do this in 1997, and it made up for it with the different paths and the medal system, which the original N64 version did save. So, even though it's a short game, that does not mean it's lacking in replayability or that you won't have fun with this. Anyways, let's start talking about the graphics. If I'm being honest, the game's visuals are a mixed bag. Let me explain. Unlike a lot of other games from this era that needs remakes because the graphics do get in the way of the stories, it's hard to take characters that look like they're children between Popeye and a Lego character seriously. And yeah, Ocarina of Time needs the remake. The fairies Link trying to power him up are more scarier than anything I've seen in a Resident Evil game. But Star Fox, aside from a few weird character portraits, doesn't really need it. The action is smooth, the bosses still look good, and while the environments could use a bit more detail, they still look fine, and you're going so fast, oftentimes you're not really going to pay attention to the details. But if you're remaking it, you're going to have to do a good job because players are going to be coming back to this area over and over again, and they will notice any small little screw-ups. And I can say that the remake does do a great job of this in most areas. Basically, everything on a planet looks good. The train switching scene aside, the planets look good. Corneria City now looking like a war zone rather than a park with buildings that needs to be picked up after, and having General Pepper trying to calm down the populace as Star Fox is flying through blowing up Andros forces is top notch. I love Zonus, and Sector Y and X look a lot better than the original. But where the game does fall flat is that it likes to use a lot of static images. I mentioned this when I looked at the demo. In the original game, Meteor starts off with a black backdrop, but in the middle of the stage you start seeing the planet Facina pop up in the background. Here it's all just one static image of Facina the entire time, so it doesn't feel like you're getting closer to anything. And they do that again in Area 6. In both the N64 and 3DS version, Venom gets closer as you blast through the area. And by the time you get to the boss, the Gorgon, Venom's taking up the entire screen by the time you get there, because the boss fight with Gorgon is happening in its upper atmosphere. Here, nope, it's just a static image that never changes size. Props on the use of smoke to make it at least look like there is some movement going on, but it doesn't come off as well as, say, as the original N64 and 3DS version, which all they did was make the planet image blow up as you get closer, and yeah, the lack of it, it just feels cheap. As far as the designs, it took a while for me to really grow on these characters, but I think they fit the visuals and this version of the story Star Fox is trying to tell. I like that the cat looks like she's had it rough and that she's been in a scrap or two compared to I'm just a pink cat in the original. I like the fact that they fixed the fact that if you encounter Star Wolf on the good version of Venom, that they're always beat up. Here, if this is the first time encountering Star Wolf, they look fine. However, if you fought and beat them in Fachina, then they come in all beat up and Andrew's got that neck brace, which is freaking hilarious. And I also like what they do to Andros. It looks like he's in a throne room with a cape on, but if you really take a look at it, you'll notice it's a robotic head sitting on a dimly lit reactor room, which is kind of where you find him when what his real form is. I love these little touches. In the end, the game's graphics are better, and I think they do impress me most of the time. The few times where they took some ill-advised shortcuts in the original 30-year-old game comes off looking better is a bit embarrassing, but I do think it's a great overall improvement, and who knows, maybe someday they will fix those issues in an update. The music remixes are done okay. I don't have any complaints. Some of the sound effects could be a little bit better when it comes to some of the explosions. But for the most part, I think the sounds pretty good, and I enjoyed it. As I mentioned, the voice acting's a mixed bag. When it comes to the in-game cutscenes, the voice acting is pretty good. But when they're in their R-Wings, I would want a little more emotions, especially from the villains. When you defeat them, they sound a little bit flat, and this sounds more like bad direction than any fault with the new voice actors themselves. So, do I recommend it? Yeah, if you never played the original and don't have access to Switch Online to play the original, I do recommend this. Is it better than the original? I'm going to give you the same answer I give to people when I'm asked if I enjoy the All-Star version of Super Mario Bros. More than the original. The answer is, if you're new to the series and never played the original Star Fox 64, then get this version and play it instead. It's easier to get into, and I did enjoy it. But as for me, I find the original still has plenty of charm, and although I do see myself still picking up this new version plenty of times to play it, I'm still going to be heading back to the original the same amount of time, if not a little more often, to play it. Just like I do with the Super Mario Brothers, I do play All-Stars quite a bit, but I find myself reaching back for the NES original a little bit more. The extra challenges in the online are also really fun, so if you enjoy the original and would like some extra story and don't mind that the coat of paint does have cracks in places, it's worth checking out. As far as the future of Star Fox, whether it's from Nintendo or this new Beltrain studio, I do have one suggestion. The reason why you always come back to Star Fox 64 and tell the same story and even reuse the same story over and over again, Nintendo, is because after you remake and release the same almost 30-year-old game, you automatically go, well, this game was outdated even for its time, so why don't we update the series? Fox will be a Lara Croft-style adventure game, or an action commando figure, or some sort of weird DS tactical game I've never played, but I've not heard good things about. Rather than let Star Fox be what Star Fox should be, a simple on-rail shooter with some dogfights thrown in the middle of it. That's what people want to pay for. It's what they continue to pay for. It's why you keep remaking it. Why don't you give that to us in a newer package? A new Star Fox game with different missions, different scenarios, new characters, new planets, but doesn't try to freaking reinvent the wheel. Just a suggestion. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think of this game. I'm Tommy the Game Master. Please subscribe to this channel for more content. You guys have a wonderful day. Bye.